Welcome back. Today I'm going to be showing you what I found on the preseason film of Caleb Williams. His first snaps under the play calling of new head coach Ben Johnson. I consider myself to be a bit of a supporter of Caleb Williams. I think he's got what it takes, and I don't think he had a fair opportunity with the play calling last year. So whether it works out or not, I'm just excited to see him have a fair opportunity, and I think he will with the play calling of Ben Johnson. And this first play demonstrates one of Ben Johnson's best traits, in my opinion. He knows how to make a quarterback feel comfortable. And what he's going to do on this first play is fake the run left, bootleg to the right, and have Colston Loveland, the rookie tight end, sneak behind the offensive line, making it very difficult for the defense to pick him up. And I think it's just a great way to start Caleb off with an easy completion, get him in rhythm, settle him down. And then this is what we want to see more of from Caleb Williams this year. It's good protection so he can stay patient on his first read and really nicely executed. And this is how Ben Johnson makes play calling look easy, because this is the play we just looked at. We had 4 receivers running deep. Defense is on the back foot, and so what do you do on the next play? You run these curl routes and take advantage of the space underneath, and once again Caleb's first read is open. And you can tell that Caleb's already feeling pretty comfortable by the patience he has on this next play. Flags on a previous run play meant this was a 2nd and long situation. And if it wasn't 2nd and long, you probably take this read. But had he thrown it here, if the receiver goes down, it's still going to be 3rd and about 10. So instead, he recognises the defenders getting sucked in. And of course, Ben Johnson has this play designed so that Colston Loveland's going to be hitting the space that these defenders have left behind. Caleb sees all of this, and the offensive line gives him a chance to have this patience, and it's another excellent throw. Now, this is the first play that kind of goes wrong, but it's not really on Caleb, it's just a heavy blitz from the Bills. And this is the sort of throw that Caleb is capable of making, but unfortunately couldn't make it happen on this occasion. But then he gets straight back on it and finishes off an excellent drive with a touchdown. He then starts this drive off with another in-rhythm, one read and throw. And the fact that a lot of this is his first read being open may concern you. But this is what I'm talking about when I say Ben Johnson makes the quarterback feel comfortable. The last thing he wants is for Caleb to think that he needs to go through multiple progressions on every single play, because then he's going to get jumpy, he's going to start coming off that first read too quickly. Right now, you just want him to have some confidence in that first read, and then the progressions will come naturally. Unfortunately, though, it's a disappointing ending for Caleb in this game, as this is a really nice play designed by Ben Johnson with the 2 tight ends, Komet and Loveland. The defenders are going to get drawn to Komet and leave Loveland open. I don't know exactly what puts Caleb off throwing it here, but he feels the back in the corner of his eye coming into some space. But even then, it's not an automatic throw. He hesitates a bit and has to throw it behind the back because now he's late on the throw. So pretty messy processing all around. And then we're going to have a pretty poorly executed screenplay as the Bills are pretty switched onto it. So I thought that was a pretty impressive performance from Caleb, but with a frustrating end, and he takes that ending into his Week 3 performance against the Chiefs. And it does get much better, but the first few plays in this game were frustrating to watch. And I was a lot more negative about this first one when I initially saw it on film. But then I realised that the play before this, there was a false start penalty. We're actually in another one of these 2nd and long situations, which means I can be a bit more understanding not taking this first read. However, on the 2nd and long situation we looked at before, the defenders were getting sucked into the underneath route, which is what left space for Colston Loveland. This time, Caleb needed to recognise that the defence is sitting off a bit more. He just needs to take what he can get underneath and see what happens on 3rd down. So then we have the 3rd and long, and he doesn't quite get the first down, but honestly, I think this is a pretty damn good effort, and look how he hangs in the pocket. I mean, he must have been really feeling the heat here. I could almost understand him leaving the pocket, but he holds his ground and makes an excellent throw with pressure right in his face. We then have a check down and an impressive hurdle from DeAndre Swift before a bit of an ugly play, but I don't think it's as bad as it would have looked on the broadcast. And this is a difficult one in terms of how exactly he was supposed to go through the reads, because he starts to his right and then comes all the way across to the left. And so I wonder if that's what Ben Johnson's asking him to do, because it kind of feels like he's skipped a progression here. But regardless, at some point you would like him to get his eyes up and find this tight end coming into space. He's a bit jumpier on this play than you'd like him to be, ends up taking a sack. But honestly, these bad plays haven't been a disaster for someone who I'm almost considering to be a rookie after the coaching he had last season. In fact, you could almost argue it's more impressive that he hasn't developed a ton of bad habits after such a frustrating rookie season. And from here on out, I think it's seriously impressive. Starting with this one where he's not going to force the ball downfield, just take what's there to be had. And it's this sort of play where the sidearm isn't just for show, and not that he's doing anything crazy here, but everything's very effortless in terms of putting the ball exactly where it needs to be, even if there's some bodies in the way. Rookie tight end Colston Loveland, by the way, going to be a huge part of the offense this season. We then have a screen, before this play where I honestly wouldn't mind him being a bit more patient on this first read. What he recognises is there's 3 defenders in this space on 2 receivers, so he doesn't want to waste too much time on it, but his offensive line is going to be better this year. I think Ben Johnson will be trying to put it in his head that you have time to read this out properly, but he still has the right idea. I'd just like to see him slow it down a touch, and he does get to an open receiver. We then have a screen before a bootleg to the left where Caleb's going to see the space and take off, and I don't see anything wrong with this, acres of space in front of him. We then have a play where there's practically nothing he can do with an unassigned defender coming on the blitz. Now, does Caleb need to be pointing out this defender to his offensive line pre-snap? I have no idea if that's something Ben Johnson's asking him to do, but it seems odd that he would come through completely unassigned like this. This play is 3rd and goal, so he needs to get into the end zone, and his only viable option is Rome Odunze, so he tries to force it in there, also knowing that Odunze is a contested catch threat. But even on 3rd and goal, you don't want to turn the ball over, so I would have much rather him take this check down and live for another day. He's then going to check this down, which I think is a very sensible and correct decision, because for an ambitious quarterback like Caleb, sometimes it's about the throws you don't make. You don't want to be Brett Favre in his early years, but you also don't want to be Aaron Rodgers in his later years, which is why I love to see Caleb pushing the ball downfield on this very next play, and no hesitation, sees this coming open early, rips it in there. And these last few plays were a really strong finish. There's this one where he reads it perfectly, no separation for Odunze, gets swiftly onto his next read, but that's covered as well, but recognises this defender getting caught, and he hits his 3rd read. Very efficient, very smooth, and shows off that sidearm motion again. He's then under immediate pressure with the blitz, and I think considering the pressure he was under, this is a pretty remarkable effort on the deep ball to Odunze. And he's going to stay aggressive on the very next play, but more importantly, he stays patient. Look how long he's going to stay with this first read, and he reaps the rewards. And then finishes off the drive with a quick throw for a touchdown. So let me know what you thought in the comments below. But wow, did that feel like a lot of good for a guy who people keep saying can't run an NFL offense. And I think him and Ben Johnson are going to have a lot of success this year. It's a good offensive line. I'm not so sure about the receivers, but I really like Colston Loveland. I like Zacchaeus. I like DJ Moore. And more importantly, looking into the future, I think Bears fans have a lot to be excited about. If you did enjoy the content, please consider liking and subscribing. It would be very much appreciated. And I'll see you next time.